we go now, baby. We are right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Before You Bet, Aaron Live right here on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube right now, make sure you smash that like and that subscribe button right down there. If you like the show, if you watch the show and you like the show, you might as well physically like it right down there. We appreciate your viewership very much. Okay, so big show planned today because we got a great big night in the NBA. I think all 30 teams are in action, so just a monster board. So as a result of that, I think we have 4 picks each, 8 total. We're going to touch on every game here as well. We do have a little bit more time with no NFL, so we might as well deep dive into the board tonight. See what stands out, some nuggets for each game, and of course, some best bets, a couple of plus money plays as well. Okay, so if we're talking NBA, you know who we're talking with. Our guy, the Magic ass fan, Orlando Magic fan, Jon Metler. John, how you making out?
Being an Orlando Magic fan this year, not as exciting as last year, but
yeah, they got off to a good start, but their games are kind of boring, I guess, you know.
Yes, facts. I'm gonna be in Orlando next week. I was actually trying to think I think they play the Cavs, Grizzlies, and Wizards, so I'm gonna go to one of those games, or hope maybe 2 of those games.
Grizzlies, Wizards. Well, 2 of those 3, you got some pretty good options there.
Yeah, one of those is like guaranteed happiness leaving the arena, though. If I go to the Wizards game, it's like, I guess you could be really, really sad if they lose to the Wizards, but I don't know, we'll see. I kind of want to go to the Cavs one, or the Grizzlies one's entertaining though too.
Yeah, I like the Grizzlies. Okay, the live chat right now. Rain says, let's go. And our guy, RN, huge slate. Let's win like big dogs. I like that spirit. Big dogs indeed. So, yeah, what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to rip through the entire board. Some nuggets for each game. We don't have best bets for every game, but we'll weigh in on a lot of them. Some of them we won't spend much time on at all. But let's bring up the big board there over at BetMGM. And start ripping through here. So let's get started here with where are we at here? We probably should have. It's the first game on the board. Am I seeing that they have the Cavaliers Raptors? Okay, so Cavs Raptors tonight. So Raptors a 14.5 point underdog, a total of 236. This is the 4th matchup between these teams this season. Cleveland has won all 3. They smoked them by 30 in one and 14 in another. Raptors, a little under the weather here. 6-12, 6-10 against the spread as a double-digit dog since November 6th. And John, you have a best bet for this game.
Yeah, I went Scotty Barnes under. I think it opened 22.5. It's down to 21.5. It's one of those, like, I think the spot really kind of plays into this bet for Scotty Barnes here. And it's just, they played the 76ers last night. 76ers lost again, which is a completely different conversation, but it feels like one of those, we had a very emotional win last night, upset the 76ers in Philadelphia. We weren't supposed to win, and now we're back end of a back-to-back, and we're kind of staring at, which you kind of concerned about for every NBA player night, staring at like a little trip to Cancun at the All-Star break. So I think this total is just a little bit too high for Barnes. The thing that really grabbed my attention too is he had an edge to the under, and that was with Jakob Poeltl playing and RJ Barrett playing, and not playing, and both of them not playing. They're both questionable. I don't think they will play because RJ Barrett has a concussion. Jakob Poeltl's missed a couple games. I don't know why you would put them in right before the All-Star break. You'd probably just give them that break. So the fact that the edge was there with them not playing, I feel like that really helps because you obviously could catch an edge, and maybe they do play. I don't think they will. Also, I feel like, blow up potential. They're playing the Cavs. That's obviously in play again. Second time back-to-back. His matchup should be Evan Mobley, and that plays really well as well for an under. So I like the under there on Barnes.
Okay, let's keep ripping through the board here. Next up over at BetMGM, we have the Spurs-Celtics game. A pretty good-looking game in Boston tonight. The Celtics are favored by 8.5, a total of 233.5. Both teams coming off a win. Spurs, a great over bet lately. They've gone over in 12 of their last 14. And I do have a best bet for this game. I'm going to go with the underdog. Let's win like big dogs. Give me the Spurs as a fairly big dog here, plus 8.5. So Boston's not a good bet this season. They've been a really bad bet, actually, in games following a win. They're covering in just 22.2% in games after a win. They're coming off a win versus the Miami Heat. Looks like they're going to be shorthanded here. Drew Holiday is out. Jaylen Brown is questionable. I don't think it would surprise anyone if they keep him out, given that it is the last game before the All-Star break. And De'Aaron Fox finding his footing here in San Antonio. Excuse me. Coming off his best performance as a Spur with 30 points on Monday versus Washington. John, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah,
As I struggle to get through.
Yeah, you are struggling right now. Get this guy a Halls. But we're the Spurs Celtics. It's 8.5 right now. It was sitting at like 8 last night. Kind of thought it should be closer to 10, but Jaylen Brown was questionable, so that kind of also plays into there. You also really don't know. Like, we're still trying to kind of learn what that looks like. De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama. So thought you had a slight edge there, but I didn't really make a play or anything. So.
Okay, change of plans here. I'm struggling to get through, so let's just rip through our best bets here for tonight, because I don't think I'm going to make it through talking about 12 games here tonight, and we're trying to put on a quality production. So let's give you guys what you want most, best bets. Moving on, we have the Pacers and the Wizards getting after it tonight, a double-digit spread in this one, and I'm going to take the big favorite in this case, the Pacers minus 10.5. So this is a desperation spot for Indiana. And they've been strong off of a loss. So they're kind of limping into the All-Star break right now. And they desperately need a win after dropping back-to-back games to the Lakers and to the Knicks last night. Now, I say they're strong off a loss. And you might say, well, they lost 2 in a row here, Joe. But I do think this is a good spot for them to bounce back, considering they are stacking some big wins after losses over the past 2 months. 6 separate instances where they won by 9 or more points in games after a loss since December 6th. They're really taking advantage of inferior competition. 7 straight wins as a favorite of 6 or more when favored by 5 or more points. And the Wizards, this team gets smashed all the time by double digits. Their average loss has come by a league worst 18.3 points. So give me the Pacers to bounce back. Okay, Hawks, Knicks. What's your best bet for this one, John?
So I went under 241.5 for the Hawks and the Knicks. We're just like looking at this from like a matchup standpoint. It does feel like if anyone remembers the NBA Cup, Trae Young went in there, beat them, rolled the dice on their logo. So in terms of like guarding Trae Young, defense, there's like a lot of like, I feel like you're going to see a lot of effort on Trae Young because of that. And I mean, in basketball, defense, a lot of time, it really is just effort. So I feel like it's very personal between them and Trae Young. Mikal Bridges is someone who can kind of slow him down. On the flip of that, Dyson Daniels on Jalen Brunson, you like that. What really drew me to this is, I think worst case scenario, when you price it out, like Cat in, Anunoby out, you had an edge to the under. I do feel like there's a possibility that Karl-Anthony Towns randomly gets ruled out, maybe just because it's the front end of a back-to-back, back end of a back-to-back. You're going into the All-Star break. He played 38 minutes yesterday against the Pacers in a game that was a blowout. That feels like a minutes, like Tom Thibodeau knew he might not be playing today. So go play your 38 minutes. You're out tomorrow. Not for sure, but obviously that really helps the under if that is the case. And also OG Anunoby, he's been out with an injury. He was supposed to be out through the All-Star break, but he did practice on Monday. Wouldn't make sense to bring him back tonight, but you never know with the Knicks. So that would also help your under because he's a really good defender. So I had an edge with it, like worst case scenario, but I felt like there's a couple passes to make it look a lot better. So I took the under.
T. Lee says, John, don't laugh at Joe. I agree, T. Lee. Okay, let's try to make it through this next one. My big swing of the night, I'm going to go Jalen Brunson, 35 or more points at plus 380 odds. So he had a uncharacteristic performance last night. He scored 8 points. That's a season low. He only played 23 minutes, and I'm wondering, were they saving him for tonight? Because Cat and Hart played 38 and 40 minutes. So I think they might look to rely on Brunson a little bit more. In this one, this is something he's done 10 times already this season. So it isn't like this is some incredible feat for him to 35 points. And Atlanta getting cooked by opposing guards. They're allowing the 5th most points to guards over the last 10 games. So I'll take Brunson, 35 or more points at plus 380 odds. That is my big swing of the night. Okay, John, a lot of eyes will be on this one. Lakers, Jazz, Luka's second game here at the Lakers, and you have a pick on the spread. Then I want to get your thoughts on Luka as well.
Yeah, I started laughing at you, and then my dog started barking, so it feels like instant karma here
Oh,
for
man.
me. Now we're both battling, but I took the Jazz plus 8.5. It's obviously a very scary bet to place when you literally just watched them get killed by the Lakers just the other night. A couple of things that played out to me here is I thought you had an edge of this number. I thought it was too high for the Lakers with Luka in. He is questionable. So the fact that you like this number with Luka in, and then there's also the potential that he could be out, liked it for that reason. I mean, again, you're going into the All-Star break. Is it really worth playing him tonight with a calf injury in Utah? I don't know for sure. The other thing that caught my attention here was the Lakers. They're missing a bunch of their depth pieces, Dorian Finney-Smith, Gabe Vincent. So those guys are also out. So I feel like when you're trying to like kill a team and you're missing that depth, and Dorian Finney-Smith's a really good defender for them. So it's kind of hard to like overlook that. The last thing with the Jazz are like the Jazz and the Nets. You have to be very careful with when you bet them because they kind of do this thing like we might get the A roster and then the next night you might get the B roster because they kind of are trying to tank their front end of a back tonight against the Lakers. I feel like tonight with like all the eyes in front of the home crowd against the Lakers and stuff like that, you see the starters. I think tomorrow they probably bench those guys. So I feel like tonight's the spot where you could take the Jazz.
Okay, so what's the expectation for Luka here? His point total set at 25.5. He only scored 14 points on Monday, but he only played 24 minutes, maybe a couple more minutes tonight. What are you thinking?
I think they'd probably keep it low. Again, we don't really know. They were talking about minutes restriction. They weren't talking about what it actually was. They weren't giving us a real number on that. The broadcasters were kind of saying like 25. I thought it'd be closer to like 30. It was a blowout, so he just didn't play the fourth quarter. So you don't really know what those minutes are. I mean, going into the All-Star break, I feel like 25 is probably a good number. But again, it's really hard to pinpoint. So I think on what day is it? Wednesday. On Monday, I played the over on his points total. I feel like tonight I'm just gonna leave it alone because I don't really know what their plan is with him.
Yeah, last game before the break as well here for the Lakers. So I don't think it would be that surprising if he only plays 25 minutes or so. So probably a stay away here. Okay, so 2 picks left. You have an SGP. I have a pick on the Grizzlies game. So let's go to Dallas with the Warriors in town. The Warriors have looked good with Jimmy Butler in the lineup. Wins of 14-21 since he joined the team. Kind of surprising here. The Mavs are easy to make fun of, but they covered in 4 straight games. You have a same game parlay for this matchup. What do you got cooked up?
Yeah, when Draymond Green, 7+ assists, Stephen Curry, 25+ points, Jimmy Butler, 20+ points, came out to plus 475. So when you're typically playing the Mavericks, alternate assist props aren't great. Like when you look at from All-Star break last year to now, just because Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, very good rim protection. They clean up a lot of the defense. And then you also throw in, I mean, you didn't get to see it, but you throw in Anthony Davis at the 4. That's a nightmare for converting potential assists, but all 3 of those guys are out. So not only do they not have like the best perimeter defense, like with Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, and those guys clean it up, they're not there. And then your perimeter defense also kind of weak. I feel like this could be a Draymond Green. The matchups really play for him. He could get the alternate assist. That's why I went for the alt. I like that as a straight bet too. Draymond Green 7+ assists. You can find that pretty good plus money. The majority of his assists go to Steph Curry. So that's why Steph Curry 25+ points is in there. What really also I think kind of pushes this towards a nice edge is that Jimmy Butler is someone who attacks the paint, finishes around the rim. Concerning if you're going against all that rim protection, but it's not going to be there tonight. So I feel like that's why I put Jimmy Butler 20+ points in there as well. So PJ Washington, probably their starter, but he's also questionable with an ankle injury. So they could be really small. It could be a really bad defense for the Mavericks.
Darren Folk says, are there any fans left in Dallas? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the crowd gets up to tonight. An embarrassing display by the Mavericks with Mark Cuban telling fans, I know he doesn't own the team anymore. He's still attached to them, though. Come on. Telling fans to sit down and shut up.
Did you see I think he tried to nix the deal, though, is what I read before. When he found out it was happening, he called like the GM and the owner was like, don't do it, but it had already been agreed upon. So he's in a really weird spot, right?
Yeah, still more to the story. It was funny that Dirk went to LA to see Luka's debut with the team, right? So
and like he's like the Mavericks like legend, right? Like that's a pretty strong statement from Dirk. I don't know if you saw last night, Nico Harrison was at the SMU college basketball game, and the student section was chanting "Fire Nico" and stuff. And obviously, they can't do anything about it there. It's not their arena, so lot of interest. It should be an interesting game. We'll see if the fans just completely revolt.
I'm okay. Last pick for the show today. The Grizzlies are playing. They're an underdog. I think it's a good spot for them. I'm going to take them here as a plus 4.5 point dog at the Clippers. So second game of a back-to-back. Don't be scared of it, homie. Memphis, 7-1 ATS in the second game of back-to-backs this season. In 2025 in this spot, they got a 19-point win against the Spurs and a 22-point win against the Jazz. So they don't take the foot off the gas just because they're playing on 0 days rest. Rough start to the month here for the Clippers. They're 1-3 straight up and ATS so far in February. Only win came against the Jazz, struggling on the defensive end. And Memphis is just on an elite stretch right now. They're playing really good basketball, 11-2, with the losses coming versus the Thunder and in New York against the Knicks. Grizzlies last game before the break. LA heads to Utah tomorrow. Revolution of the Classics asked in the live chat, are the Celtics going to play down to the Spurs? I think potentially. Well, maybe not even really. I mean, Drew Holiday's out. Brown might be out. I think it's too many points. So that's one of the reasons why I gave it out as a best bet. So let's recap.
It does. To me, it does look like too many points when, like you were saying, those two guys. And once they start ruling people out, it can keep going with them. They kind of go all in or all out, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go all out and stuff. So,
indeed. Okay. Do we have a best bet recap graphic? Producer Mick, we do. John, why don't you recap your bets there for the people?
Yeah, I went Scotty Barnes under 21.5 points. Knicks Hawks under 241.5. Utah Jazz plus 8.5. And the SGP Warriors Mavericks, Draymond Green 7+ assists. Jimmy Butler 20+ points, and Stephen Curry 25+ points.
Okay, for me, let's go with the Spurs plus 8.5. The Pacers minus 10.5. Jalen Brunson, my swing of the night, 35 or more points at plus 380 odds, and the Greasy Grizzlies plus 4.5. So yeah, that does it for the show today. Need to cut it a bit short. A little under the weather here. You don't realize till you start speaking at length that you have the inability to speak at length, and that's a pretty important part of my job. But we got in what matters most, our best bets. So going on a little bit of a winter break here, I guess you would call it, to line up with the NBA All-Star break. But John will be recording a Before You Bet NBA All-Star betting special tomorrow, right, John?
Yeah. And I've legit takes for it too. It's not just going to be throwing random darts. I watched a high school dunk contest the other day, so I have some thoughts.
The high school dunk competition. Okay, there you have it. Okay, so that does it for today. Thank you to John. Thank you to producer Mick. Thank you to our sponsor, BetMGM. And thank you to all of the great viewers for tuning in today. Enjoy the action tonight. Best of luck with your bets. And we'll see you guys after the NBA All-Star break. Let's go Grizzlies. Woo!